Hello, everybody. I'm Josh. This is
Blake Baxter.
Blue Edge Energy, and this is for you clients. We're going to dig into some market intel with the senior energy originator here with over 65 years. No,
35 40 years. 40 years.
Okay,
you got that wrong.
I had you pegged there. Yes, of experience in the marketplace, whatever else. So let's jump into this here, Mr. Blake. Everybody always looks at, even though we're in the dead of winter or dead of summer. And what's going to happen here? What do you see for the forecast? What do you think for gas pricing next winter with everything going on?
Well, that's a loaded question and multiple fronts.
And you got 30 seconds.
Yeah, okay. Well, we've stressed this in our weekly comments. Inventories are large, demand is down, gas prices reflect that. Market last I looked was off 11 cents today, $1.61. Looking ahead for the August contract. The big thing is that I think most people at this point no longer believe in a V recovery. We're looking at a U recovery and then perhaps an extremely extended U recovery. So data out of Europe is indicating that they're not bouncing back as strongly as economists thought. In a couple of weeks or by the end of this month, they've got to decide on their September LNG shipments, which people currently don't think they're going to be taking very many. So that's going to back up into the U.S. Demand in the U.S., even given this extreme heat, demand seems somewhat muted. We've certainly seen commercial accounts are well off. We know the exports are well off. But that's counterbalancing a little bit with production because production is down. However, in the last 2 weeks, we've seen about a BCF a day of production bounce back in the Northeast. Quite frankly, people can hedge off this winter. And if you're going to hedge the winter, you're looking at 270 range pricing. Producers are saying that that's favorable. So part of it may depend on oil markets. You may get a little flux out of the oil markets because then you get the gases associated with shale oil production, which in fact we're seeing a little bit of that come back also with prices higher. But at the end of the day, the two big drivers are weather and the economy. And again, I don't see anybody talking about a V recovery anymore. So, and then if you look at weather, there are people who believe we've seen the high point of summer right now. Some of the forecasts are calling for August to be cooler than July. That's going to add to our storage inventories. And quite frankly, some of those inventories, like production area, is already 90% full. So if we have a cooler August and gas continues to pile up, again, that's kind of looking like there's some downside going into the fall. And quite frankly, we were just sitting discussing this for a few minutes before we started here. I'm hard pressed to find anything that would drive this market significantly higher. It just isn't there. Another point that we have discussed, people are hopeful that we'll get a COVID vaccine. Well, I honestly, in my personal opinion, I don't see that having much impact in the real world. You got too many people out there that won't even wear their masks. You've got a lot of people out there that don't believe in vaccines. And even though I am a pro-science and definitely not an anti-vaxxer, I sure as heck am not going to run out and take some vaccine that was developed very quickly by an administration who I no longer trust. So I feel like you're not going to have enough people out there, even if they have a vaccine. I don't see enough people out there queuing up for the vaccine to really eliminate the COVID problem.
So we got a slow recovery, a lot of uncertainty there. Production, values, places that use a lot of gas are down. What about like the utility sectors? We have the conversion ever since I've been doing this, coal to gas. What do we see? Coal or gas is taking over coal, but do we still continue to see a major switch over where that's becoming a significant narrative in this time?
Well, that's a great question, but I think a lot of people overplay that question because, quite frankly, I mean, the combined cycle plants are 6,800, 7,000 heat rate. So you're looking at plants, even at $2, we're producing $14 power. So they've been in the money forever. So the gas plants you're talking about really are peaking plants.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is about peaking plants is those are the plants that the utilities have to keep to maintain their reserve margins. Electric utilities have to have enough reserve margin that if they lose one or two big units like TVA, I mean, it wasn't uncommon for us to lose an 1,100 megawatt nuclear plant. Okay, so boom, you got to have three simple cycle turbine plants come online just to replace that one. So even though the single cycle turbines
Mm-hmm.
are like an 1,100 heat rate, which are in the money at $2 on peak, you can't run them because you got to maintain them for your reserve margins.
Mm-hmm.
So I really think that's been overplayed. And then, the data this year out of Texas, for instance, is that they had significant gains in renewables. They're actually producing record levels of renewable energy. So, I think this whole discussion, people get excited. It's almost like in the days of the hurricanes. Oh, hurricane's coming. Oh my, it's going to have a huge impact. Yeah. Now it's like, oh, prices are cheap. There's going to be all this conversion. Well, most of that conversion's already occurred. So, I don't see, making it cheaper doesn't really get you more generation for the gas sector.
Gotcha. So you mentioned earlier about LNG. So, put you on a spot here, but like, what percentage of our gas production was supposed to go to LNG and be shipped overseas? And how's that factoring in with countries dealing with what they're going through? Like, is it staying domestic then? How does this get determined? What happens to it if it can't go overseas? What happens in these contracts?
Yeah, it backs up into the U.S.
So it's coming back in here.
So, we had built enough capacity now that we could export about 10 billion cubic feet a day.
What percentage?
Which is 12 to 15% of total U.S. production. Yeah. So it's quite sizable.
Yeah.
But, that gets downplayed because, if you look at the Northeast, natural gas wells have a natural depletion rate. So, you already saw production in the Northeast tail off by about 5 BCF with people not drilling.
Mm-hmm.
So, we're still probably a little bit oversupplied right now,
mm-hmm.
but not overwhelmingly. But the thing is we're still oversupplied and we have huge storage inventories.
Okay.
Again, that's why I just can't see. You had asked a question a few minutes ago about, what's the scenario for high prices this winter? Well, it's going to have to be really cold, really early, in order for this market to overcome the large inventory levels. So, unless we get very cold weather very early, I don't see much upside in prices this winter.
So the question was earlier, and everybody paying attention, is like, how do we get to $4 gas for next winter? Right now we're like $2.70 as a spread, something like that. And that was the question. And you're saying we need extended cold early on, and what's the other factor you think? Or would weather alone do it? Or would it be production starts tailing off at a good clip and weather?
Yeah, production could tail off even more. If you look at the inventories, and like I mentioned earlier, the production area is already 90% full.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a glut of gas and prices drop below $1 in the near month, then there's liable to be further erosion of gas production.
Yeah. Okay.
So you get a very severe early cold front that bites into your inventories or creates a fear of the inventories being depleted, mm-hmm. combined with a low production number. So in theory, mm-hmm. But you got to have that early cold to make that happen, in my view.
Gotcha. Okay. So maybe for the sake of time, most people watching this are already eating through their Big Mac and half their fries right now. So to wrap this on up,
just let me make one more comment.
Okay,
so I just looked at the long range forecasts.
Yeah.
From the Climate Prediction Center.
Yeah.
And they're calling for the United States to be warmer than normal December, January, and February, with the upper Midwest being equal chances of normal. So
these are the same people that told us it'd be cold this last winter towards the end, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
they
Just to be
haven't. They
clear
haven't.
about that one.
They didn't have a lot of success last year. But yeah, that's what we got.
Yeah, right. I was running in shorts at Christmas time. So here's the thing, though. Like,
Yeah,
people,
but you were trick or treating in snow.
yeah, that's true. So people watching this, like they've got their basis locked in. Of course, they don't have their gas locked in. So what are you, I know you got to make a general summation. What's your feeling right now? If someone's asking, well, should we do a partial hedge? Thought process right now. They want to pick up the phone and call you. What are you telling them?
I mean, my advice is stand pat. But again, I mean, the winter, depending on whether you're looking at a 5-month strip or a 3-month strip, and we're favoring the 3-month, where the bulk of the volatility is. It's historically still a relatively low price. However, you could be giving up a lot of downside at this point if you lock that price in.
Yeah.
But if you want price certainty.
Yeah. It's always available. The price point right now in those
Yeah.
months, $270 or something, which is nothing to sneeze at because my goodness, like go back historically. I mean, we had last year and many years earlier than that it took to get to that price point. So
And we have all those deals in our system. So if anybody wants to call and find out specifically what their price point is at any given point in time,
that's a good point.
Just got to give me a shout.
Yeah, so you can always give a shout out. We know your volumes. We know the months you'd be talking about or reflect on here, and we can pull it up very quickly to tell you what the price point would be. So, okay. Any last parting shots you want to think about here?
No, just keeping our head down and put our masks back on.
Keep your head down. All right, there's some wise advice there. Well, thanks for tuning in. If you got any questions, give us a call, shoot us an email. You know how to reach us. It'll be posted here in the email as well. On behalf of myself and Blake, have yourself a great one.
Till next time.